Welcome to NXTGO2THING from GO2 Partners. I'm Tiffany Rivera, and this episode is about stepping back from the noise and spending time on how business leaders actually think about what's next.
And as we close out the year, it felt like the right moment to slow things down a bit. Instead of offering predictions or answers, we wanted to focus on something we believe matters more right now.
The questions leaders should be asking as they head into the next year, because better questions tend to lead to better decisions over time.
This year reinforced something we've seen coming for a while. The pace of change is faster than most planning cycles. Strategies that felt solid in January sometimes look questionable by summer, and by the end of the year, some of them were already obsolete. And what that exposed isn't a lack of intelligence or effort, it's the cost of certainty. When organizations commit too early to answers, they lose flexibility. And flexibility turned out to be one of the most valuable assets this year.
What stood out to me was how different teams responded to that reality. Some doubled down on their original plans even when the signals said things were shifting. Others slowed down just enough to reevaluate. The teams that adapted best weren't chasing every new idea, they were consistently asking better questions. Questions that forced alignment, surfaced trade-offs, and created space to adjust without panic.
Every organization operates on assumptions about customer behavior, about buying cycles, about how quickly decisions get made, about what creates value. The problem isn't having assumptions. The problem is forgetting their assumptions at all. And over time, assumptions harden into facts. And once that happens, teams stop questioning them. What we saw this year was how dangerous that can be. Markets shifted, expectations changed, internal dynamics evolved, but many strategies were still built on beliefs that no longer matched reality.
See, this is where leaders have to get uncomfortable because challenging assumptions often means questioning past success. It means acknowledging that what worked before may not work now. Organizations that revisited their assumptions didn't do it because something was broken. They did it because they recognized the context had changed. That mindset creates resilience. It keeps teams from over-optimizing something that's already fading. Complexity almost always enters with good intentions. A new system to solve a problem, a new process to create consistency, a new layer to manage risk. Over time, though, those decisions stack, and instead of clarity, you get friction. Instead of speed, you get workarounds. What's dangerous is when complexity stops being questioned. It becomes the default. People assume this is just how things have to work.
We saw this play out again and again. Teams spending more time managing systems than making decisions, more time coordinating than executing. Complexity doesn't announce itself as a problem. It hides behind productivity metrics and busy calendars, but the cost shows up in slower decisions, lower morale, and missed opportunities. Asking this question forces leaders to separate what's truly necessary from what's simply familiar. Now, this might be the most important question on the list, and it's the one that gets skipped most often. Organizations are very good at launching initiatives, much less good at clearly defining the problem those initiatives are meant to solve. When the problem isn't clearly articulated, every solution becomes debatable. Alignment breaks down. Execution stalls.
Clarity around the problem does something powerful. It creates shared understanding. It gives teams a common reference point for decisions. Without that clarity, even good ideas compete with each other. With it, teams can evaluate trade-offs, prioritize effectively, and move in the same direction. If a leadership team can't explain the problem in plain language, it's a signal that more thinking needs to happen before more doing. There's a lot of pressure to talk about transformation, big vision, big outcomes, big change. But transformation is rarely linear, and it's almost never fast. This question reframes success. It shifts the focus from sweeping change to tangible movement, from perfection to progress.
Meaningful progress might look like fewer handoffs, clearer ownership, faster decisions, better visibility. Those things don't make headlines, but they compound, and over time, they create the foundation for real transformation. Organizations that set realistic markers for progress are far more likely to sustain momentum than those chasing an ideal future state. This is the question most teams avoid because stopping something feels like loss, especially when there's history attached to it. But growth almost always requires subtraction. Time is finite, attention is finite, focus is finite. Continuing everything means nothing gets the depth it deserves.
The most effective leaders we've seen are intentional about what they stop doing. They protect focus, they create space for better work. Letting go doesn't erase past value, it acknowledges present reality. And that's what allows organizations to move forward with intention instead of inertia. When we look back on this year, the difference wasn't access to tools or information, it was organizations' thought. The ones that made progress asked better questions, and they kept asking them as conditions changed.
That discipline creates alignment. Alignment enables execution, and execution is what turns strategy into something real. Better questions don't slow organizations down. They keep them from running in the wrong direction.
What we hope Next GO2THING does is create space for this kind of thinking. Not quick takes, not shortcuts, but conversations that help leaders pause and reflect.
Because the future isn't built on having the perfect answer at the right moment. It's built on staying curious, staying disciplined, and being willing to revisit your thinking as conditions change.
As we close out the year, we appreciate you spending a few minutes thinking through this with us. We'll be back next year with more conversations just like this. Until then, take care and enjoy the end of the year.